This week we're going to have our LLED200 class online, as I want to walk you through your third writing assignment for the class. So our learning goals for today, by the end of our online class, you're going to be able to identify the 4 major stages of our problem solution assignment. You're going to select an appropriate big problem for your assignment. You're going to narrow down and you're going to choose a specific social science or an arts problem to research. You're going to develop and refine keyword search terms using the advanced search feature in the UBC library. You're going to complete a working draft reference list with 3 to 5 appropriate academic sources for your problem solution assignment. And you're going to identify and use appropriate resources to help you build your problem solution draft. So to get started, first, you need to complete the online homework module for week 14. So go to Canvas, open the week 14 module. The 2 videos are especially helpful. So pause this video and come back after you've completed the online homework for week 14. After you've completed the online homework for week 14, next we're going to open the problem solution assignment instructions on Canvas. So we're going to go through the assignment instructions together, and then we'll look at an example of how to get started. So you'll see that assignment 3, the problem solution writing assignment, is worth 25% of your total grade in LLED200. The draft is going to be due January 21st by 9 p.m., which is worth 10%. We're going to do a peer review session in class on January 31st. That's worth 5%. And then the final is due on February 18th by 9 p.m., which is also 10%. So the problem solution writing task, this is a 4-stage academic problem solution text. So I'll just say that this is very specific to an academic problem solution. You may come across on the internet different types of problem solutions, but we're going to follow this 4-stage academic format. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is the background of the problem, the situation. Then you're going to write about the problem itself, identify the problem. Then you're going to identify a solution, but it's probably only going to be a partial solution to the problem. And then the last paragraph is going to be an evaluation of that solution or partial solution. So we're also going to work today in choosing the topic of your problem solution text. It needs to be very focused and specific, and it needs to be something that you can discuss academically within 400 to 600 words. So you're going to want to choose either a specific real-world problem, it could be a social problem or a theoretical problem, but related to one of your disciplinary studies in social science or arts. So today we're going to go through a getting started page that's going to help you with your research. But you'll need to plan your writing assignment before you start writing. You're going to want to develop an outline like we did for the last one, but you'll develop an outline on your own this time. Also be aware, I am going to show you some research in this video, but you need to put aside several hours to do research. I have done several hours of research to do this video, but I'm going to condense it into a shorter video. But make sure that you're giving yourself time to do proper research. So number 2, you're required to support your ideas with reliable academic sources, so we'll look at those later in the video. You'll need between 3 and 5 sources formatted in APA style. We're going to use a precise academic staging, so there's going to be 4 stages, and again this might be different than other writing assignments that you've seen in other contexts, which are also called problem solutions. There are 4 paragraphs for the 4 stages, which we said were the situation, the problem, the partial solution, and the evaluation. I would actually recommend writing the second paragraph first. I find it easier to write the problem paragraph and then go back and do the situation paragraph. So if you have a really specific problem that you've identified in your second paragraph, I find it easier to go back and introduce the background and the situation for that problem. So at the end you will end up with a situational, a background for the problem. The second paragraph will be explaining the problem itself. The third will be the solution or the partial solution. Does not need to completely solve the problem. And then you'll need to do an evaluation of the solution. Keep in mind that you will need to use at least one academic source for each one of these stages. The length is 400 to 600 words. Aim for about 100 to 150 words for each of the 4 stages, and word count doesn't include your reference section. Make sure that you follow all submission standards as per the updated LLED200 syllabus. This includes the file title. So if you keep going down in the instructions, you'll see that there is a sample problem solution text that was written by a Vantage College student a few years ago. This one is an evaluation on the viability of boosting Palestinian agricultural water supply by solar distillation. And you can read through this example. You'll see that we have this first stage here, this first paragraph, that's going through the background information. We have the second paragraph that's very specifically identifying the problem. We have the third paragraph that's going through one approach to the problem, right? This is a partial solution, so he's hedging here. And then the last paragraph here, we have an evaluation of that solution. You can see the reference list with 5 academic sources at the end. So this is a very nice student sample to read through. So as you saw in the Unit 3 video, you're going to need to go past description and use explanation, evaluation, and argumentation in your problem solution. So I'd like to go through the homework with you, which is the problem solution getting started worksheet. So you'll see that there is a blank template one for you to do your own. Looks like this. I'm going to go through an example. So here we have an example that we'll go through each one of the steps together, and we'll look around in the library and do a little bit of preliminary research. Again, a lot of the research has been done outside the video, so make sure that you're giving yourself enough time to really sit down and do the research for the assignment. Okay, so step 1 is identifying a big problem that you're interested in. Think about in social sciences and or arts, something that you would expect to see research being done, people discussing this kind of problem. So for this example, I chose the big problem of homelessness. I thought maybe possibly in Canada I'm interested in researching. And then I thought, what disciplines would be researching and talking about homelessness? And I thought maybe sociology, possibly human geography, perhaps psychology. So that's just step 1, identifying the big idea that you're interested in researching. So step 2 is going to ask you to identify some important questions around the problem. So this could include, I have some generic questions here, like what populations are affected by this, where's this problem happening, what are sort of the causes and the consequences of the problem. So the worksheet asks you to make some important questions, but make them really specific to your problem. What do you want to know more about this problem? So for the homelessness example, we have, are there certain age groups? I'd be interested in researching if age groups are more affected by homelessness than others. Are there certain populations, maybe there's minority groups which are more affected, or certain genders more affected by homelessness than others? Does homelessness correlate with anything else? And I thought, well, maybe there's health, maybe there's mental illness, age, I'm not sure. I'd be interested in researching what are some of the causes of homelessness. Are there relationships between education or family background, or maybe socioeconomic status? And what are some of the consequences of homelessness? How does it impact people, but also sort of the larger picture? What costs are there to society and the government? I had a couple other questions on here, things about legality, things about responsibility. So I just made a big brainstorming list of important questions that I had about my topic. So step 3 asks you to identify your own thinking about this problem. We don't want to write from our own thinking, but we do want to go through before we start researching and think about what's the background knowledge that I have? What are my assumptions? What are my personal biases? So I thought I had some background knowledge about homelessness, that it's a major issue in Canada, across Canada and the United States. I think it might correlate with things like health and drug use. I have some assumptions, perhaps about the lack of affordable housing. I might also have some really personal biases that I need to keep in check while I'm doing my research. So step 4 is going to ask you to do some preliminary research. That means just your starting research, a place to begin. So you're going to go to the UBC library and you're going to open an advanced search. We're going to make a list of preliminary keyword search terms. Now remember, you can always change your keyword search terms, and the more you research, the more keywords you might find, and it's just a process of going through. So we're going to do a little bit of that in this video, but remember that it does take time to do good, solid research. Keyword search terms are usually noun groups. They're best used searching with quotation marks. You can use the word and phrase corpus. I've put a link in here if that helps. So for example, for my keyword search terms, I know I wanted to start with homelessness. Then I can go to the word and phrase corpus. So now I'm at the word and phrase corpus. I'm going to go to all genres, and I'm going to look for the keyword homelessness. So I can click on homelessness here. I'm interested in seeing how it's used in an academic way, so I'm going to choose academic. And I can see all the words that collocates, all the words that kind of go with homelessness. So we have words like social, we have chronic homelessness, urban, long-term, contemporary, domestic. We also have nouns like problem, poverty, drug, hunger, crime, unemployment, and some verbs here: increase, experience, prevent. Maybe I can use the word prevention. So these are some good words. I can see down here in the examples too. You can sort them if you want to see what words come before and after homelessness. So I can see a virtual epidemic of homelessness among gay and lesbian teens. That might be something I'm interested in researching. I can see homelessness and, so we have homelessness and drug abuse, homelessness and housing, homelessness and poverty. So this is just a tool to use going back and forth with your keyword search terms in the library. So I come back to my worksheet, and now I have just some starting keyword search terms. So I picked out words like chronic homelessness, long-term homelessness, homelessness and unemployment, poverty, age, maybe some specific places like Canada or New York came up in my research. So now I'm going to go to the UBC library. Once you're at the UBC library, you don't want to just use this general box here. As you saw in the online homework video, you want to go to an advanced search. So we're going to start with our advanced search, which is going to give us our Boolean operators that you saw in the previous video, and or not. So we're going to just start building in some keywords. So we'll start with homelessness, and I'll try minorities and Canada, just to see what I get. Down here I have some options. I only want to see maybe full online texts, maybe not. I definitely only want to see scholarly material, peer-reviewed material, and I do not want to see newspaper articles, so I can take those out. I'm going to search. Now I came up with 2,700 results, which is too many. So I want to make sure that I go to my filters on the left. So a couple of things you can do with the filters. I only want research from the last 5 years. I want to make sure my research is very current. That brought me down to 784. I also want to make sure that I'm researching within a discipline. So here we see psychology has 88 articles, we see sociology and social history has 86. So we'll try sociology first. So now I have 86 results. I can start going through some titles and abstracts. And as I go through, I see pathways into homelessness, understanding how both individual and structural factors contribute to and sustain homelessness in Canada. I think, oh, that might be a really interesting article that might support my introduction. So I can click on it and save it however you're saving your research articles. So I definitely want to make sure to keep that one. I go back and I see the next one. This one looks like a good one too. So I can click on that. I can read the abstract. Sounds like it might be good for my second paragraph, possibly my third paragraph. So I want to save that one too, whether you're downloading or you're saving it to a management system. So remember, when you start to find articles that you are interested in, a lot of articles under the abstract or just above it will list keywords. So here I have some keywords that I can start playing with, refining my search down. So as you start going back and forth to your searches and keep narrowing down your search results, after doing some reading, I found that I wanted to use the keywords homelessness and youth. And I found the term sexual minority being used. I want to put it in quotation marks to make sure that I'm not searching two separate words, but I'm searching the term sexual minority. And I'm going to try New York. I saw a lot of research being done in New York. Again, I want to make sure that I'm getting scholarly materials, that I'm not getting newspaper articles. I can search again. Now I have 356 results, but remember, I want to go down and make sure that my research is current. I'm going to have just the past 5 years. And now I see that there's 55 in psychology, there's 26 articles in sociology and social history. I can see more if I want to look for different disciplines. Here are my disciplines. I can go down the list and pick whichever disciplines I want to see. So I think this time we'll look at psychology. Now I'm down to 55 results, which is not too bad. And so I go through and I say, well, this one looks interesting. This looks about homeless youth. Again, I'd want to save that, either downloading it into a folder or saving it to perhaps you're using a software system like RefWorks. And again, remember that under the abstract there's very often keywords. Here I have some more keywords that I could use in doing my research. Also, if we look, when you click, there's very often articles that are related. So this one looks like specific to New York City. I might be very interested in reading that article. So I can click on that article, again, save it to my preliminary research folder. So once you've done some reading and some research, I started off with sort of more general keyword search terms. As I was reading, I ended up getting much more specific, which is step 5. So step 5 asks you to identify some very specific keywords that you find in your research. So my refined keyword search terms ended up being homelessness and youth and sexual minority and New York. So this is a way for me to narrow down my problem solution assignment. So you can see here, if I just was researching homelessness, that would be way too broad. So start narrowing it down. I started saying, well, am I interested in looking at seniors? Am I interested in looking at women? Am I interested in looking at youth? And I said, oh, I'm really interested in researching youth. And then narrow down again, sexual minority youth, maybe in a specific place. This place, I saw a lot of research coming out of New York. And then last, I filtered it through a discipline, through psychology. So now I have a very specific research topic. So we can take a look at how this might end up going into an outline. So my very first try had, there is a disproportionate number of sexual minority youths affected by homelessness in New York City. So there's a lot of good specific information in here, but I think if I were going to put this in my outline, I don't want to have this empty theme here. So this empty theme is there is, right? And I'm not talking about there, I'm talking about homelessness. So if I take homelessness and I make this my theme, and then I can say homelessness disproportionately affects sexual minority youths in New York City. And now I have a much more compact, much more nominalized topic sentence that I can now put in my outline. So the last part is going to ask you for draft references. So these are not your final references. This is, remember, just working into an outline and working into a draft. So here you can see I found 4 articles that I thought would lend themselves really well to writing my problem solution. So you can see 2 of them came from the same researcher. So I've listed them from oldest to newest. So while I do have 4 sources here, I really only have 3 different perspectives. But I can see that this person is researching something I'm really interested in. So I might want to take a minute and just go see who this is. So I can pretty quickly find this researcher and I can read through his research. I can see that he's using terms like marginalized populations. That's a very good noun group. I might use that in one of my keyword search terms. He's using noun groups like community engagement. He's got a nice video explaining his research and a list of publications on Google Scholar. So it's always nice to go and see who the actual researcher is. So once you've completed step 5 and you have your draft references in APA style, there's just a couple of things to keep in mind. The problem solution assignment must be based in good academic research. So you can't write from your own background knowledge, assumptions, biases, or beliefs. So we want to identify those and then go do really good research. We want to make sure to narrow and narrow and narrow and narrow some more. Be as absolutely specific as you can in your research topic. So starting with that big research topic is great, but we definitely need to narrow it down and be more specific. This is an opportunity to explore something that's interesting to you. You're going to learn through reading and writing, so make sure to choose something that you really want to research. Problems that are very close to you personally can often be very difficult to research academically, so just keep that in mind when you're selecting a topic. And we have our last one, our resources that are available to you. Make an AEP appointment right now. Talk to librarians for research help. Use the UBC Center for Writing and Scholarly Communication. Use Ask Away and Write Away early and often, and ask questions and get feedback. So your homework for next class is to submit your problem solution getting started worksheet on Canvas by Tuesday, January 9th by 9 p.m. Also bring a copy. It can be on your laptop, a digital copy, or paper if you'd like, of your worksheet to class on January 10th. If you have any questions or concerns, or you want to check your big idea or your narrow topic, please also feel free to email me or make an AAP appointments during my tutorial hours. Thanks and happy researching!